Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT math problems out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 456. 456, today is our lesson number 19. Let's take a look at it. The very first problem on the page. We are told that m equals t cube. And we are being asked how much is w. W is m squared plus m. Question is how much is w in terms of t. But they tell us that m equals t cube. If m equals t cube, then if we were to square this side, we have to square that side, and therefore m squared must equal t raised to 6. That's what we're going to put there. W equals m squared, which is t raised to 6, and m is t cubed. That's it, that's our answer, that's what w is. That's it, that was number 14. Let's take a look at number 15. We're done with it. In number 15, they give us a set of instructions. We are told that when we see a number with a triangle next to it, we have to follow these instructions. We have to take the number, subtract 1 from it, and then multiply that answer by the number itself plus a 1. For example, if we were to see 10 with a triangle, 10 with a triangle simply means we take our 10, because x is 10 here, subtract 1 from it, and multiply it by 10, which is x is 10 again, plus a 1. So we end up with 9 times 11. So 10 triangle in this case equals 99. The question here is how much is 6 triangle minus 5 triangle? Let's do it out, shall we? Oh, this, by the way, was the word that we used yesterday, and I forgot to explain the meaning of the word. So we're going to take care of it right now. The word is verbatim. I said, let me read the problem verbatim. To read something verbatim or to say something verbatim means to say it word for word. The antonym of verbatim would be paraphrase. I wasn't going to paraphrase the question. I wasn't going to state the question in my own words. I was going to read the questions exactly the way it was written. I was going to read it verbatim. Verbatim, pay attention, is to be spelled with an I, not a T. Verbatim is to be spelled with an I. I'm trying to see here when we learned this word. In my vocabulary list here. What the hell? We have not learned it. I have not covered it in the vocabulary lessons. What do you know? Something to make note of. Anyway, so that was that. Let's take a look at it. 6 triangle. 6 triangle will simply be 6 minus 1 times 6 plus 1. 6 minus 1 is 5 times 7 is 35. That's 35. Similarly, 5 triangle is 5 minus 1 times 5 plus 1, which is 5 minus 1 is 4, 5 minus 1 is 4, and 5 plus 1 is 6, which is 24. And what are we told to do? We are told to take their difference. It says, how much is 6 triangle minus 5 triangle? 6 triangle minus 5 triangle is how much? Well, right here. It is 35 minus 24, which is 11. 6 triangle minus 5 triangle equals 11. So we have to look at the answer. We have to look at one of the answer choices that gives us 11. Now we have to repeat the same procedure again for each of the pair in the answer choices until we find a pair that works out to be 11. That's all. Let's do it. Let's look at answer choice A. Answer choice A says two triangle, which is 2 minus 1 times 2 plus 1. 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 times 1 is just 3. Plus 1 triangle. How much do you suppose one triangle is going to be? One triangle, right away we're going to get 1 minus 1 here. 1 minus 1, it doesn't matter what it is here. 1 minus 1 is 0, it's just 0. So 2 triangle plus 1 triangle. Pay attention here, pay attention, very close attention. The question is asking how much is 6 triangle minus 5 triangles, and the answers are stated as additions. Answers are stated as addition of the two quantities. Question is being asked as a subtraction, as a difference of the two quantities. That's where they get you. But anyway, that's not going to work. 2 triangle plus 1 triangle is just going to be 3. It's not going to work. Let's look at B. B says 3 triangle. Let's find out. Which is going to be 3 minus 1 times 3 plus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 plus 1 is 4, so it's 8. Plus 2 triangle. Well, we already know what 2 triangle is. 2 triangle we just found out equals 3. So 2 triangles equals 3. 3 triangles equals 8. Therefore 3 triangle plus a 2 triangle equals 8 plus 3, which is 11, which is exactly what we want. That's it. The answer is B. The answer is B. Let's go to the next one, shall we? We are done with this one. This one was, by the way, a level 4 question. The next one we are about to do is level 3. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you look at the back of the book where at the end of the exam where the answer key is, at the end of each exam they give you answer key. If you look at the answer key carefully, next to each answer choice, next to each answer, they tell you the level of difficulty on a scale of 1 through 5. Number 16 is a level 3. It says, if x squared over y is an integer, so we are told that x squared over y is an integer. But x over y is not. Which of the following could be the values of x and y? So we're looking for a pair of numbers, x and y, such that when we take this ratio, x squared over y, it has to be an integer. But when we take the ratio of x over y, it cannot be an integer. We're looking for such a pair. Let's get going. A tells us 1 and 1. Well, 1 square over 1 is an integer. That works. 1 square over 1 is an integer. But x over y, which will be 1 over 1, it's also an integer. It's also an integer. It's not allowed to be an integer. It cannot be. X over y is not an integer. This is an integer. 1 over 1 is an integer. Therefore, this is no good. A is not the answer. Let's look at B. Let's see if the pair in B works. 3 and 2. 3 squared over 2, which would be 9 over 2, we are told is an integer. Oh, bloody hell, it's not. 9 over 2 is 4.5. 4.5 is not an integer. We are told that it is an integer. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter what this part works out to be. It doesn't matter what x over y works out to be here. It makes no difference. It doesn't meet the first condition. Let's look at C. C says 4 over 2. So 4 squared over 2, which is 16 over 2, which is 8, it is an integer. So that works. And x over y would be 4 over 2, which is 2, which is supposed to be not an integer. This does not work. X over y is supposed to be not an integer. This is an integer. That's not going to work. Let's look at D. You just have to pay attention to the instructions that are given to you. That's all they're trying to see how well you concentrate. You have to meet two conditions. The first condition is that this ratio, x squared over y, has to be an integer, and x over y cannot be an integer. So there are 5 answer choices. 4 of those answer choices will violate one of these two conditions. I doubt very much if there is any answer choice that's going to violate both the conditions, or maybe there is, but there is only one answer choice that will meet both of these conditions. That this ratio will be an integer, and this ratio will not be an integer. Let's look at D. 6 over 4. 6 squared over 4, which is 36 over 4, which is a 9, which is an integer. So that's fine. And x over y here, which would be 6 over 4, which is 3 over 2, which is 1.5, which is not an integer. Voila, we found our guy. X 6 squared over 4 is an integer, but 6 over 4 is not an integer. The answer is E. Answer is D rather. You try out E on your own, you'll see it doesn't work. Let's go to number 17, shall we? Last one, number 17. I'll give you a chance in case you want to pause the video or do something. Number 17. The very last one. It's a tricky one. It says the equation of the line is, we're given a line, we're given an equation here which is y equals negative 2x plus 6. And if you were to plot it, when x equals to 0, when x equals to 0 in here, y equals negative 2 times y equals negative 2 times 0 plus the 6. Negative 2 times 0 is 0, so it's a 6. So when x is 0, y is 6. When x is 0 along y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes through here. Let's call it point P. And then when y is 0, of course you realize that we don't have to do any of this thing because they actually give you the graph. I'm just doing it for the hell of it. When y is 0, negative 2x plus 6 equals 0. Bring the 2x to this side, we get 2x equal to 6 and x equals to 3. So it goes through 3 and 0. 1, 2, 3, it goes through here. Let's call it Q. So that's the original graph. That was the original graph that is given to us. We didn't have to do any of this work here. As I said, I just did it for the hell of it. Let's start the question. It says, which of the following is the graph of the absolute value of the guy? Now, here's what you have to understand. Just because you take the absolute value of the thing, let me erase all of this thing because I need the room here so I can explain to you thing here. Look, if we tell you that x equals absolute value of 5, if somebody were to tell you that, rather, y equals absolute value of 5, let's not put down y, that's going to confuse with this thing, let's call it p. If somebody were to tell you that we have a variable p whose absolute value is 5, what do you surmise from that? What do you gather from that? What do you infer from that? What do you get out of it? Well, we get out that p must be either 5 or negative 5. P must be either 5 or negative 5 because negative 5 absolute value equals to 5 equals to p, and positive absolute value of positive 5 is again 5, which is equals to p. So if we know that the absolute value of p is 5, or rather, yes, the absolute value of p is 5, or p equals absolute value of 5, this is not written properly. That's not what I meant to say here. That's not how I meant to write it. If someone tells us that the absolute value of p is 5, if someone tells us that the absolute value of the p is 5, p could be either positive 5 or p could be negative 5. You agree? Because absolute value of p is 5. You see, if p could be positive 5, in which case absolute value is going to be 5. If p could be negative 5, in which case absolute value is going to be 5. You see, absolute value of p is 5. What I'm trying to make you understand is that when you put the absolute sign around something, one half of the story does not change. It's the second half of the story that's going to change. First half of the story does not change. The positive portion of the story does not change. It's just the fact that by the virtue of having an absolute sign around it, we have second dimension to it, which is the negative aspect of it. By putting an absolute sign around it, what they're telling us is that y is never going to turn negative. Y is never going to turn negative. For example, but the first portion is not going to change. The first portion is going to still be same. They're looking for the graph of this guy. They want us to find the graph of this guy. The graph of this equation The one half of the graph of this equation is right here. It's just that it's not allowed to go in the negative part. It's not allowed to go in the negative part. If you understand that portion alone, you will see immediately that the answer would have to be B. Because that's the only answer in answer choice B. Let me put down answer choice B right here. In answer choice B, they give you like this, and then it goes like that. But this part does not change, as I told you. This part is this portion of the story cannot change. This portion of the story is going to stay the same. And I'm going to show you right now why that portion of the story is going to stay the same. I'm going to show it to you right now. We're going to plot this thing. We're going to plot this thing, okay? Watch. I'm not going to write everything to save time. When x is equal to 0, 0 times negative 2 is 0. Y is going to be 6. So it goes through 0 and 6. 0 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When x is equal to 3, y is going to be negative 2 times 3 plus a 6. Negative 2 times 3. When x is equal to 3, y is going to be 0. That part did not change. 1, 2, 3. You see, this portion of the story does not change. What changes is the fact that this guy is not allowed to go in the negative portion. He's not allowed to go in the negative portion. He has to turn up. How is he going to turn up? Well, that's very simple. Find the one value that's bigger than 3 and see what happens. Let's do it. Let's put in x equal to 4. When x equals to 4, we'll have y equals absolute value of negative 2x plus 6. We'll have absolute value of negative 2 times 4 plus 6. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 plus 6, which is negative 2. And the absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2. You see, when x is 4, y has to be positive 2. It cannot be negative 2. It would have been negative 2 in the original graph, and it will continue down. But now when x is 4, it's positive 2. There you go. There is your graph. We can do one more if you like. When x is 5, we can do one more. When x is 5, y is going to be negative 2 times 5 plus a 6, which is negative 10 plus a 6, which is negative 4, which is going to be positive 4. Which is going to be positive 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There, you see? Right there. Right there. And that's it. That's your graph. That's answer choice B. But what I'm trying to make you understand is, we didn't have to do any work at all in this question. We didn't have to do any work at all if you recognize the fact that just because we put an absolute sign around the thing, it doesn't change the first half of the story. The first half of the story is still the same. Now, if they had given us more than one answer choice with the same first half of the story, it would have been a different story. It would have been a different tale. It would have been a different scenario. But if you look at the 5 answer choices, there is no other answer choice which has this part in it. There is no other answer choice. In other words, out of the 5 answer choices, there is no other answer choice where the first half of the story is the same as the original story. Answer is B. That's it. I will see you tomorrow, okay? Bye now.